Welcome to the Empowerment Zone, brought to you by South Dade NAACP, where we share trustworthy information, uplift local voices, and connect you to the resources and pathways that support thriving, one conversation, one connection, and one action at a time. It is where South Miami-Dade listens, learns, and leads.
And I'm your host, Harold Ford. And today we have two very special guests that we're going to introduce to the family. The first is Miss Kyrie Salters, and she's basically here, again, to talk about mental health, as well as her captain, I could say, which is Miss Cherise Watson. Welcome to the Empowerment Zone.
Thank you so much.
And again, the topic of mental health has been something that we definitely have in need of having a lot of conversation around. And so as a result, I thank you all for coming so that we can have this discussion and, more importantly, hopefully leave by the end some tips that people can, utilize, but more importantly, how to engage with a therapist if needed and where they can go to get the necessary services. So with that, let's talk a little bit about the stigma of mental health, its origins, and then where we are today. So we're going to start with Kyrie, if you may. Sorry. Can you introduce yourself to the family, and then we'll get...
Yes. So my name is Kyrie Salters. I am a licensed clinical social worker in the state of Florida. I've been providing counseling as a licensed clinician for 8 years. Mm-hmm. So as it relates to the stigma of mental health, I think it came from the protection within our household as African Americans. We don't feel that anything that happens within our house should be disclosed outside of the home. So I think that's where it originated from. And I think initially it was just for protection.
Okay, thank you. And Ms. Watson.
Hello, I'm Cherise Watson. I am a licensed mental health counselor. I've been practicing for the past 15 years. And I agree with Kyrie. I would just add that another piece of the stigma is just people don't have a good understanding. There's a lot of ignorance around what mental health really is and what, someone struggling with mental health looks like. And we have this quote unquote, I'm not crazy situation. So you're like thinking whatever it is that's going on is not requiring me to go to therapy. I'm not crazy. It's not that serious. But, it doesn't have to be a big mental health crisis for you to seek help. And, you don't have to feel embarrassed. I think there's an embarrassment around it.
Right. And I agree with you 100%. And have we seen things change as it relates to the stigma in recent times or in our current situation? Start with Ms. Watson.
Sure. Absolutely. I would say we've seen a significant change and a lot more people of color, Black people, Caribbean people, Latinx, they're seeking therapy now. I saw a shift during the pandemic, especially when we were locked down and we could not go anywhere and do our normal routines. Sheltering in place brought about a lot of anxiety, a lot of grief, a lot of depression, and certain people started to seek out at least telehealth services, I would say.
Okay. And is there some level of persistence, or is there certain areas where you see it more so as it relates to the stigma or the need where it seems to be more prevalent or prominent?
Yeah, I think that the older generation is still a little closed off as it relates to reaching out for assistance as it relates to mental health. The younger generation, Gen Z, is all for counseling and therapy and talking about their feelings, while the older generation still have their walls up as it relates to talking to people about, in a sense, what's going on there in their head. And like Cherish said about not feeling like they're crazy, because when they hear mental health, they think that something is wrong with me or something is wrong with her. When it doesn't have to be anything that's wrong. It could necessarily just be, I need someone to talk to. I need someone to process these feelings that I'm having out with, not necessarily that there's something wrong.
Right. And I know growing up and from my generation, Gen X, we weren't very expressive of our feelings. We were very closed. And sometimes even when you could see someone going through a challenge, you would tell them basically to suck it up, get over it, walk it off, put some ice on, all the different things, thinking about sports, what my coach or my trainer would tell us to do when we're suffering from some type of injury.
True.
And when things then start happening, people now want to open up and say, well, wait a minute, I saw this or I saw that, but they didn't do anything to proactively kind of help that person avoid going to that extreme. And so what would you recommend people do to address the issue of the stigma? Or how do we convince people that, you know, it's okay not to be okay, but it's not okay to stay that way? It's something I've heard recently. So
yeah, I think one of the things that is important to me, and one thing that I do, is try to educate. One of the things that I do tell my clients when I see them is I'm doing this because I know it's easier for you to come in this room and I look like you. It's easier for you to ask for help when you know that someone that you're talking to may have gone down the same path and kind of understand what it is that you may be going through, instead of you talking to someone and you're scared because they may think something otherwise on what you're saying. So education, I think, is important. I try to go out to as many community activities and resources and speaking engagements to educate people about the importance of mental health, and not necessarily reaching out when you're at that point of you're at your wit's end, but reaching out when things initially start. Because if you can catch it in the beginning, then you won't get to a point where you are at a point where I no longer want to be here. And things are a little rocky. Let me process.
Gotcha.
It's better to catch it then than to catch it 6 months down the line when you've been going through the same thing over and over again.
Gotcha.
So I think education is important, and I try to educate as much as I can.
Yeah, and I know the two of you work with, you know, within the school system at one point, and you're currently, I think. My question is, at what age would you feel it's necessary to begin this process of peeling off the layers, or helping children peeling off the layers and understanding what they're experiencing?
As early as possible, I would say. There's no like age limit, because, you know, kids have to understand emotions. They have to understand to have self-control and not, you know, regulate their emotions, not lash out and hit. So as early as, I don't know, pre-K, kindergarten, they need to know about their emotions and their feelings, and it's okay to feel a certain way, and how to talk, what's the right way to talk to someone, conflict management, resolution. Like, those are all the skills that I help my clients who are adults that maybe never had the skills when they were little, or their parents did not model how to have healthy conflict, so they just know how to yell and scream. But if you could teach it young, then it's instilled at a young age, and it helps. It'll at least help, even if they don't see it at home. They're learning it from their counselor, they're learning it from their teacher, so they're getting something healthy and different than what they get at home.
Okay. Did you feel compelled to add?
The younger the better. In the school that I'm in now, I start as young as 4 and 5, and it's identifying feelings, because some kids don't know how to express when they're feeling sad, when they're feeling angry, and it's easier to catch them at 4 or 5 than at 15. So to catch them as early as possible, and if they can be caught prior to that,
right,
by all means. But I think the earlier you can get to them, the better it is for the betterment of them.
Right.
Just like she said, working with adults that don't even know how to express themselves, it's because they wasn't taught when they were younger.
Yeah, it was all bottled up.
It's all bottled up inside.
Yeah, amen. And as mental health professionals, I would love to know, picking your brains, what keeps you up at night? Kyrie?
What keeps me up at night is, sometimes when it relates to mental health, is because it is as popular as it is now. A lot of people utilize it for not so good things.
Gotcha.
So they say, like, I've had students that I got ADHD, I can't control myself. And you can control yourself. You have to learn the skills to apply it instead of utilizing your diagnosis to dictate who you are and what you can or can't do. So it's become so popular that everybody, they know what their diagnosis is, and they say, because I have ADHD, I can't sit still. But it's not that you can't sit still. You have to learn the skills in order to cope with it, in order to be able to sit. And you may not be able to sit for an hour, but you can't say, oh, I can't sit down for a minute. I can sit down for 30 minutes. I may need a break, but I can't sit down for an hour straight, but I can't sit down.
Gotcha.
So they use it as a crutch, in a sense.
I would say for me, you talked about the different generations, and you have like baby boomers, you have Gen X, you have millennials, you have Gen Z. And I would say all the work that I'm doing to help teach these skills, to help someone know how to communicate, whatever it is, work through conflict, trauma, they go back into the environment and have to struggle through. Even though they have the skills, the environment is the same, and it's unhealthy, and it's really difficult to navigate. And within those different generations that I listed, let's say baby boomer or whatever, Gen X, are so strict and so rigid and not willing. So the person might be telling them, hey, I learned this in therapy or whatever, and it just doesn't budge. So that is difficult, to see, because there's nothing I could do about that. I can do presentations, podcasts, do therapy, but you have to go back to that environment and figure out how to navigate those dynamics, those relationships.
Yes. And it seems like, stemming back from what you were just mentioning, that there's some level of manipulations that's done sometimes. And I do recall it when I was a school administrator. Children would say, well, Mr. Ford, I have anger issues. I said, guess what? Me too. I just control mine. I need you. We're going to work together to control yours, So it doesn't matter. We all, anger is an emotion.
It is.
And we are all filled with the different emotions. So using that, like you say, as a crutch, is unacceptable. And our goal is to teach them how to properly use those skills that you provide for them as therapists so that they can, be healthier and stronger individuals. And, because there's so many types of mental health professionals, you're talking about counselors, social workers, psychologists, psychiatrists, and others. They have also very different training backgrounds and degrees. So from masters to PhDs, doesn't matter what type of provider someone sees or what degree they may have to get the proper services and care.
I would say we all pretty much generally do the same thing. So even if you have a social worker or a mental health counselor or marriage and family or a clinical psychologist, we all study psychology. We all study behavior. We all know the different modalities and ways to treat whatever is presenting. But it would just be important for you, based on what's going on with you, to do your research to find a practitioner or a clinician who may specialize or have a lot of experience and background in what you're working on, wanting to work on trauma, wanting to work on eating disorders, wanting to work on conflict in your marriage. You want a couples counselor, then you can find someone who has additional training or specializations in what you need specifically.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. And I would like to add that also being able to find someone that you can relate to and you can build that relationship, because therapy isn't one-sided. You guys have to work together.
Yep.
So being able to find someone that you can build rapport with and being able to kind of, I can sit and listen to this person and I can take their advice and the information that they're providing to me in order to bring it back to my life. And I think that some people think that finding a clinician is a one-time thing, when sometimes that first clinician may not be your match. Right. Even though you may have thought that you picked the perfect person, it may not be. And being honest and being able to say, hey, I understand that we started this, but I don't feel like we match. Yeah. And if we don't match, that's okay.
It's okay.
But also, if you don't match with the first one, don't give up.
Right.
Go find somebody else.
Right.
Right. And I would say, but the onus be on also the clinician or the patient. Because sometimes me as a patient, I like you. I want you to be my counselor. But you may say, well, listen, I don't see progress being made. I think you need to see, so, who would you recommend, or both could have, be party to that conversation, but how do you help someone make sure either you're the right fit or that you're not the right fit? And then what do you do in that regard?
I would say you have to feel it out. Like it's almost like a test run, like you test drive a car, and then you would be able to notice certain things. So I'll use myself as an example. I was dealing with a lot of grief, And I was like, I can't take it anymore. I need to talk to someone. And I started looking for a therapist, and it was so hard. I am a therapist, and it was so, so hard. But I tried. I called. I set up a consultation. So you set up a consultation. You speak to them. You ask them questions like, what's your approach to therapy? How much experience? And you kind of get a vibe when you talk to them. But if you can't really tell in the consultation, once you start the process, you'll see how they work, and they might make you feel kind of put off or whatever it may be. And then you can go from there and say, you know what, I'm not really comfortable. I think I'm going to find someone else. Or, you know, in the consultation, that's free. It's like 15, 20-minute conversation. You say, thank you. I'm still shopping around for therapists. I'll call you back if, you know. So it's on the client, but it's also on the therapist to say, like, I don't think I'm the best fit for XYZ, but I think the client has a lot of agency.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I agree. And as a clinician, I've told clients that I don't feel that I would be the best. And I think it's important for us to be able to say that. Yes. It's hard when it's your profession and that's your money, right? So it's like, hey, I need a client, but this client needs X issue, and that's not my specialty.
Gotcha.
And I've told clients a lot of times, like, I don't specialize in couples. Like, I'm not comfortable with speaking with couples. I prefer you to go to this person because I know for sure that they'll be able to assist you in your needs. If you have an individual issue and it's one of the things that I specialize, then by all means, I'll be able to assist. But being able to be as honest as possible, even if that's going to take money out of your pocket, another client's coming.
Correct.
So being able to be as honest as possible. So it's both ways, client and clinician.
And I'll add real quick, it's on us to provide a referral. So if we are going to say, I don't feel comfortable, to be honest with you, I don't specialize in that, here are a couple people you could go to. So, you know, it'll work out.
And I know we've talked about the dynamic of sex, you know, I'm sorry, not sex, but gender.
Gender, yeah.
You know, I mean, male or female.
Male or female. I understand. Gotcha.
Lord have mercy.
We knew what you meant.
No, but, you know, sometimes, you know, a male, you may not feel comfortable with a male client. And vice versa. Sometimes it may not be advisable for a female client to go to a male, you know, clinician, because unfortunately things happen and sometimes it may not be in best interest. So how do you weigh those types of situations? How do you read, I hate to say read the room, but read that individual when they're coming to see you to make sure, wait a minute, this might be going in a little bit of an uncomfortable direction based on, you know, I know women have the sixth sense, but basically kind of reading the situation to make sure that that person is, again, going to receive the proper care. And if you're not that individual, you know, how to get them to someone that may be able to properly handle this situation.
I think that's something that I assess on a regular basis. I don't have a lot of males that come for counseling session, and you know, it's very taboo for men, but the ones that do come, it's an assessment that I consistently, if I feel uncomfortable, I'm assessing that uncomfortableness, and I'm taking that back within myself and asking myself, what is it that I'm seeing? Why is there reservation when it comes to this client? But also for safety purposes, I ensure that when I do see a male, it's not my last client of the day.
Correct.
Gotcha.
I'm ensuring that there's someone in the office to make sure that I'm safe. So there's some safety factors that I put in place, and that's for male and female, because I sit by the door just in case. But ensuring safety is really important, but also being able to kind of talk to other clinicians and say, hey, this happened in session with a male. What do you think is going on? And just getting that second opinion.
Got you.
To be able to say, okay, maybe I wasn't wrong with what I was thinking. And maybe it's time for me to have this conversation with, hey, I don't feel that this would be in the best interest for us to continue this therapeutic relationship.
Gotcha.
I would like to refer you to someone else.
Okay.
Perfectly said. That's exactly, that's what I was thinking. Like, I would bring someone in, not be by myself ever, but bring someone in to kind of say, hey, this is what happened, get some expertise, talk it through, and then make a plan. But also always checking, like what she said.
Okay. And I know that, you know, between the areas of psychology and psychiatry, a lot of people don't know and understand the difference.
Mm-hmm.
So can we go ahead and explain to the community, what is the difference and how do you know which one you need to seek? And then again, I know sometimes psychologists will refer individuals to psychiatrists,
Correct.
but, help the community understand what the difference is between those two. Sorry, Ms. Watson, and then
Sure.
you, Ms.
So psychology is just, the mind, behavior, and all of that. Psychiatry, they are medical doctors.
Mm-hmm.
If you go to seek psychiatry services, you're seeing a medical doctor who can prescribe psychotropic medication
Mm-hmm.
to assist with, antidepressants, anti-anxiety, mood disorders, whatever it may be. And a lot of times with my clients, when they're having certain symptoms over a course of a long time and we're not seeing progress or it's escalating and they need more assistance to help them beyond what they're learning in counseling, I give them education about psychiatry. And I say, hey, have you ever thought about it? This is what it would look like. You'd have a psychiatric evaluation. They're going to ask you questions, gather information about your symptoms, whatever. And then they'll be able to say, hey, you might look like you're dealing with this, and you start on a low dose. They monitor you. You do medication management, things like that. But it's different from psychology in that psychology is you're going to be talking about your feelings. You're going to be learning tools, but we do not prescribe. We are not able to prescribe, but they can.
Okay. Anything you could add?
No, I agree 100%. The only thing additional that I do is I ensure, just like Cherish, I educate on what it'll look like, but also sometimes we don't see things as clinicians because there may be a medical aspect of it all.
Mm-hmm.
So being able to go to a psychiatrist and there may be something that the psychiatrist saw that we didn't see as a clinician. And they're able to come back to us and say, hey, well, the psychiatrist said that this is my diagnosis. And then we go back to the book and say, hey, well, this is their diagnosis. So we're able to properly diagnose them because a medical doctor has seen them and they have, a little bit more of an educational background to be able to give a diagnosis that sometimes we don't see as a clinician.
Gotcha. Awesome. So one of my last questions, or as we're getting ready to wrap up, what questions should an individual ask to assess the authenticity of their mental health professional?
The authenticity. What do you mean?
Well, when you're basically kind of feel out, see if that person is whom they would also feel comfortable with receiving services from. In other words, if you're going to see a psychiatrist or a psychologist, what questions would you have for them before they begin providing services to you?
Okay. So I think it's important to ask about education.
Okay.
Education is important to see, what kind of degree do they have, if they have a degree. They should.
A lot of institutions out there. I'm just saying.
How long they've been in the field.
Yes.
What their specialties are. Because you want to make sure that if you're going to someone for anxiety, that they specialize in anxiety, that they've had experience with working with people with anxiety. So I think specialty is important.
Okay.
And also being able to see what type of therapy approach they use, because there's different types of approaches.
Gotcha.
So we learn different things.
Yep.
Sometimes it's on a baseline because everybody knows cognitive behavioral therapy.
Correct.
But what more do they know?
Right.
So being able to find out what their therapeutic approach is, and seeing if there's a match in that aspect.
Gotcha.
I agree. I would say the finding out their therapeutic approach is going to be really major, and if what they specialize in is major, because that'll probably make it click. Like, oh, they have a lot of experience in anxiety. I'm having panic attacks. They use blah 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 treatment. I need that. I want that. I know for me, I do a lot of trauma work. I specialize in trauma. I specialize in the treatment of adult attachment disorders as well. And so I am EMDR trained. So I always say, hey, I'm EMDR trained, and that can help with trauma. I'm trained in attachment. That can help with trauma. I'm trained in mindfulness, blah, blah, blah. So I give the litany of things that I specialize in and the ways and approaches that I use it. And if they feel comfortable with those approaches and they're open to it, that would be a good fit, I would say.
Awesome. Well, as we get ready to wind down, my final question would be for you all to provide some parting words. What would you tell the family? And then also tell them how they can get in touch with you.
Sure. I would say, like he said earlier, it's okay to not be okay, but it's not okay to stay that way. I like when you said that. So don't be afraid to reach out for help. You can ask someone, maybe you know someone in your family or a friend, like, hey, I think you were talking about counseling the other day. Like, how did you do it? And they can lead you and guide you. You can find me online. I'm the owner of Cornerstone Center for Counseling. So I provide telebehavioral health services to individuals. I accept insurance as well as private pay. And you can go to www.cornerstonecounseling.center. You can email me at info@cornerstonecounseling.center. And you can follow me on Instagram at ccc_counseling.
Awesome.
My parting words is it's okay to reach out for help. Even if it's something small. So reaching out for help does not mean that you are weak. It doesn't mean that you can't do things on your own. Sometimes we need assistance. So that's what I part with. You can find me. My website is ksbmh.org. I am the owner of KS Behavior and Mental Health Services. I provide both individual and family counseling in person and telehealth. I have an office in Homestead, Florida. You can find me on social media at ksbehavior.mentalhealth. That's where you'll find me.
Amen. Well, Ms. Watson, Ms. Salters, thank you all for coming out and sharing with the family. And we thank you all for viewing this episode of The Empowerment Zone. Thank you. God bless. And we'll see you at the next episode.
Thank you for joining us in the Empowerment Zone, brought to you by South Dade NAACP, where information becomes action, voices become movements, and community becomes change. We hope today's conversation inspired you to stay informed, stay engaged, and stay empowered. Remember, our voices are strongest when they are heard at the ballot box. Voting and voter registration are powerful tools that help shape our schools, neighborhoods, leadership, and future. Encourage someone to register, make a plan to vote, and continue doing your part to strengthen our community. And don't forget to email your feedback, thoughts, and/or suggestions for topics that you want to hear about to podcast@southdade.naacp.org. Until next time, keep listening, keep learning, and keep leading, because together we are building a stronger South Miami-Dade, one conversation at a time.